Okay, this is the homework help for the homework quiz 11.1a, relations and functions. And we've got our Desmos calculator if we need it. I have a feeling there'll be quite a few questions here where we might not need it. So this one says each relation below is not a function. So the important thing about a function is all the x values are different. So I'm only going to check one of the answers, but basically I'm just looking at these first numbers here. And I'm just looking to see, are they different? So yeah, 2, 3, -1, and 0. They're all different. So that actually means that this is a function, but for that reason, I don't select the question. Sometimes we've got to read very carefully. If it says which is a function, then yes, A would be the correct answer. This one says which is not a function. So you can go through each one individually and check, and then you should be able to pick out the correct answer from that based on that. Okay, let's have a look at question 2. So which table represents a function? So basically, this is going to be that same idea. We're going to look at our x values, and we're just going to see which ones, if they're going to be different. So for this one here, as I'm looking at my x values, you can see that these two are the same. So that would tell you that this one is not a function, and therefore the answer is not A for this question. And you can go through and you can go ahead and you can check all the other ones as well. A lot of this is just a different presentation. Is it a table? Is it coordinates? Is it a mapping? Is it a graph? So which of the following graphs represent a function? So this is going to be slightly different. This is one where we're going to use our vertical line test. So our vertical line test is if it draw a vertical line anywhere on the graph, if it passes through the graph more than one time, then we know that it's not a function. So perhaps the most obvious one for not being a function is a circle, because if you draw a vertical line here, it would go through 2 times. Also, if you have the ellipse shape as well, same thing. If you draw a vertical line here, you can see that it passes through the graph 2 times. And if we have this sort of shape here, now it does depend where you draw the line. Like if you draw the line here, it only passes through 1 time. But the question is if you draw it anywhere. So if I was to draw a vertical line here, then you can see that it passes through more than 1 time, so we wouldn't count that. And a vertical line is a special case of that, because if I draw a vertical line over the top of the original vertical line, then it passes through multiple times on the same place. So this one here is certainly not a function, and you can certainly go and check the other ones as well. For the one that will work, basically as you draw vertical lines, wherever you draw a vertical line, it will only pass through 1 time. I think it's always easy to find the ones that are not functions and then eliminate those, and then you can pick out the correct answer as well. Question 4. So we're back to our function again. So we know the key thing about a function is that all the x values are going to be different. So I have 1, 3, 5, and 7. So the important thing is then for whatever our next coordinate is that we don't have a repeat value here. So for example, I'm going to start from the end here. If I was to pick the point 3, 9, then notice that I would have a 3 here and a 3 here, which is a repeat value. So for that reason, that's not the correct answer. And therefore, you can clearly go back and check for yourself to find out which actually is the correct answer for that question. Question 5 is going to be the same sort of thing. So look at the values that you do have, 4, 5, 9, and then we just got to make sure that we don't have a repeat value, and that'll make sure that it is a function. Which one is a function? So we've got a few different ones on here. We have some that are pictures. We talked about in the last question, the vertical line is definitely not a function, so we know it's not that one. So just look at the different ways they represent it. So for a table, we're just looking at these x values. I see a repeat value here, the 4 and the 4, so I know it's not that one. And you can go and check the other two just to see which one it should actually be then. If there's one that you're not sure of, check the other one. It might be by process of elimination. You can also figure out the correct answer. So which one appears to be a function? So I'll do one again, and then you can clearly check the other ones yourself. So it might not be the best vertical line here, but if I draw a vertical line here, you can certainly see that it goes through more than one place. And for that reason, I know that I can ignore that answer. So that one is not the function, and you can go look and try out the other ones. If you're not sure, I would go look for the ones that are not functions first, because I think they're easier to find, and then the one that's left over would be your function. Question 8. Which statement is true? So we've got to work it out for each of these ones. Are they a function? Are they not a function? So this is a very common type of SOL question where they'll give you two pictures. You have to answer both of them and then figure out the answer from this. So we already talked about the vertical line. We know that this one is not a function, and therefore we can get rid of some of the answers. So it's certainly not both graphs are functions, and it's certainly not only graph B is a function, because we know that graph B is not a function. So take a look, use the vertical line test on graph A and see if you can figure out which is the correct answer for that one. Question 9. This one says place a check mark in the box for all that apply being a function. So we're using all those different rules. Now we've already done the table one, so I'll skip that one. We haven't done one with a mapping yet so far in this homework assignment. So let's look at this one here. So certainly all the numbers are different, but that's not enough for a mapping. We have to look how many arrows come from each number. So the arrow tells you basically what the coordinates are. Not that you need to go to quite this much trouble, but 2 to 4 means 2, 4. So I'm kind of going to make up a little table because I know they're kind of easy to do. 5 goes to 0. And 5 also goes to 8 here. Now, I'm not actually going to continue. You could also do these with 7, 3 and 9, 8 as well. The reason I'm stopping is notice that I have repeat x values for this question. And the way you can quickly tell from a mapping is just count the number of arrows coming out from each point. So from the x value there, so we have 2 arrows coming from the 5. That's how we know that this one is not a function. And you can check the other ones just to make sure that you have the other ones correct. That was 9, so I think this is the last one. I believe there's 10 questions. Oh, there's 11 for this one. Okay. Which could be the table of values which was used to graph the function shown below? So we're really just reading off coordinates here. Now, if this was a Desmos, and it is, you can actually just click on these points here, and that would tell you what they are. Possibly for the SOL, not sure it necessarily would be that, so you'd have to kind of look at the scale. So I can see that it goes up to 10, but there's 5 squares. So I know this goes 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And same for the y-axis. I can see it goes 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So at this point here, I could see, actually, let me pick that one. That might be a better one to pick. I went across 3 squares, and they're all 2, so that's 6. And then you go up 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, but 4 times 2 is 8. And then you can just check each of these coordinates and make sure that you pick the correct one based from that. And the last question on this one. Given this function here, which of the following values of x and y will make the relation a function? We've kind of already done this one before. So specifically, we're really interested in the x values here. So to make it a function, let's just make sure we don't have any repeats. I can already see a 1, 2, 3, and a 4. So as long as we don't have either of those, then we should be okay for this question. I think that should be sufficient for you to answer that one. You can then go ahead and submit the quiz, and hopefully that should be